This is the Swarm and Shoot football show with me, Manny Matsakis, as we kick off Season 2. We've been fortunate because we've had a few good interviews. We bring Lynn Grohl on here, and he's able to interview some of our players. And we've got a lot coming up in this upcoming season. And this Swarm and Shoot football show is brought to you by Big B Coffee, which I've got right here. And it's right across campus here on North Clinton Street. Get the finest coffee beverages in Defiance, as well as great pastries and breakfast sandwiches to start off your day. And for most of us, we also get a pick-me-up in the afternoon by heading across the street to see Sue and everybody over at Big B Coffee. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, BSN Sports. Rob Held, Jim Garris, and the crew over here, the sales team, are the professionals that you definitely need to get in touch with to get your gear. All the DC gear. If you're a high school program out there listening to this, get in touch with these guys and they will help you out. They do a fantastic job with high schools, colleges, businesses in the area. Can get whatever type of apparel they need customized just for their business. So I know Rob does a great job for us. Jim is our rep that I see virtually every week of the year, and it's outstanding customer service.
Welcome back to the Swarm and Shoot football show. Again, joined by Defiance College head coach Manny Matsakis. Coach, another step in the right direction, it seemed like from watching Saturday's game. I know it didn't maybe show that on the scoreboard, 41-22, but some more steps with this young group.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely some steps, and I guess I always want to be positive about things, and there were a lot of positives in this. I mean, we started off the first half great. We needed to finish a couple drives, or we'd have been up at the half. It was 17-14 at the half, but what I think the things that cost us was like one play scores by them. I mean, their quarterback at times looked like Johnny Manziel. He just boom, boom, and then he'd throw one downfield, touchdown, because he'd scramble and maybe wouldn't stay with one of the receivers in coverage, and it's a touchdown. And then we give up a punt return for a touchdown. And we had a few times we had him in our hands, and then he just juked us, and Javon had a great blitz called, and we had a guy that was spying the quarterback that would have had him, and for a 10-yard sack, and then it's a touchdown. So they're just little things like that sort of blew up on us in the third quarter and got us out of our game plan. We got behind, but the initial game plan to run the ball against them was solid, and I think we played a good physical game up front with the offensive line. Those guys, with three freshmen starting on the offensive line, and we lost our right tackle and our right guard to injuries, and one of them to COVID contact tracing, because another student here was a study partner, and so he's missed the game. So that was tough. But all in all, improvements.
Yeah. You're down 17-14 at the half. How did you feel going into the break on Saturday?
I felt good. I thought that, okay, we could just get a few things shored up, and if we can keep this thing close going into the fourth quarter with the way we were running the ball, we were going to cause some problems, and we could get out of that, with an opportunity to win the game. And really, it just 3 plays, and it is a 1-score game, or we're up. I mean, that's all it was. And I think when we went at the half, I Mount St. Joe, you could see they were in a bit of a tailspin. They weren't expecting us to run the ball as well as we did. I mean, Tyshawn Freeman came out of that with 20 carries and 118 yards. He got his shoulder banged up a little bit, so we started to rest him a little bit. And I honestly believe had he been full force the whole game, the outcome could have been significantly different.
Your opening drive, go right down and score, and good start.
Yeah.
Something that maybe you haven't had.
First time, and I don't know when, probably since Earlham 2 years ago, where we're able to start the game off fast. And I think that our offensive line just throughout the game was so excited to get back on the field, and and they were playing against a good defensive front, and those young guys, Eric Moultrie and our left guard did a heck of a job. He was throwing guys around, and it was a good opportunity for guys to mature up front. And Chris Shank's done a great job with that group. I mean, they're becoming our identity. We affectionately are calling them the demolition crew. So there you go.
Yeah. Is that the group that has maybe improved the most as this season has progressed?
I think so. I mean, in the last year, that group. I mean, Chris has done a great job of just getting them to understand where they need to be in some of our complex run schemes that we do. And I think as he starts to build more and more fundamental work with these guys, the dam's going to break open pretty soon for the offense, and which helps the defense tremendously.
50 rushes, 205 yards, kind of is becoming your identity a little bit, is this rushing attack.
It's getting closer. I mean, where I'd like to be is about 100 yards more, as crazy as it sounds, because teams that rush for 300 yards don't lose a lot of football games. And so historically, when this offense has matured, it's when you're starting to crank out those types of games, high 275, 300 plus yards rushing. And when you can do that, what's crazy is then all of a sudden your pass offense almost starts to match it. I mean, it starts to be like, oh, you can start to get 200, 250 yards passing because they're so geared on that run game. So that's ultimately our goal here as we get into the rest of the season and into the fall. But we have to balance things out a little bit more. And we had some issues. I mean, we had legitimately 5 passes dropped that cost us 92 yards of offense, and 4 of the 5 were situations where it was it was a 3 and out or the end of a drive in the third quarter, which that's where they just took over. We scored 0 in the third quarter, and they scored 17, and in the end, that's what cost us.
You do a pretty good job with their quarterback outside of their big plays. He was only 50% completion percentage, which is good, but giving up the big plays is what kind of did you in defensively.
It did, and you look at them. I mean, they played 2 quarterbacks, and the one that started and finished the game was the Johnny Manziel type of guy.
Right.
They pulled him. He was struggling, and then they came in to try to throw with the other guy, and in the end, we were fine with that. It's just then when the other guy came back, just stopping the QB. It wasn't even like designated QB runs. It was like scrambles, and every time you scramble, it seemed like explosive plays were happening more often than they should.
Yeah. Take me through the tenor, the mentality of this group right now and kind of where they're at mentally now that they got a win. Seem like they're playing a little bit better the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
Where is the team at mentally, Coach?
I think right now the team is at a point where they are excited to practice, which means they're excited to play. It's like I've in his last couple years it was like you're losing games, you're trying to fight through, and maybe practice. You had to whip them into practice. Here, these guys, they can't wait to get going. So I think that's a positive way to finish the second half of the season. We've got these 3 games left to go, and I think if our guys are genuinely enjoying playing the game of football, which I believe we are, then we're going to make improvements, and hopefully it ends up we're on the positive side of the ledger on some of these games here to wrap up the season.
Back at it at home against Anderson, a team that beat Manchester 55-27 last week, and they got off to a great start, 21-0, just about halfway through the first quarter. So they obviously can put up some points, have a great quarterback, another one that you're going to have to face this week. What have you seen out of Anderson on film?
Well, it's that. Tyson Harley, who was the freshman of the year after 2019, he got 32 of 43 for 379 yards. I mean, that is a high-powered offense that they have, a lot of explosive plays. So, it's almost like it's that weird dichotomy of football. I mean, it's like how do you how do you slow down a high-powered offense? Well, you slow it down with a great running attack. It reminds me a little bit of I don't know, you remember a couple of years back where Army's playing Oklahoma at a triple overtime game in Norman, and Army's they're running the ball.
Did the same thing against Michigan a
Yeah,
couple years ago,
there
too.
you go. Yeah, so I mean, it's like I want us to be more balanced than an Army attack. However,
That's what you kind of are right now is
yeah.
You have to run it 3-4 yards.
Yeah, and then occasionally Tyshawn will just bust one, and it's like, the moose is loose, as they say at that point. So, I think that's the way that we're going to have to handle a team like Anderson, who I think is, they're sitting here right now. That was their first win, and they've had some success in their losses, still scoring a lot of points. So this will be a challenge for our defense, but it's also going to be a massive challenge for our offense, because I don't think you're not going to beat Anderson, scoring 22 points. I mean, I think nobody has. I mean, that's not how you beat them. I mean, Manchester scored 27. It wasn't enough. So, I mean, they are scoring a lot of points and boatloads of points. So our defense is going to have to do a great job dealing with what they do. They run a lot of mesh concepts and try to get you confused when they're crossing guys and all that. They run it out of, a 2x2, a 3x1. They try to mix it up. And if you run it enough, you can get really good at something. It's not like what they do is complex by any means offensively, but you got to stop what they do. It's like back in the old days, it's like, oh, you got to, Woody Hayes would run off tackle, and he'd just keep running off tackle unless you could stop him. He was going to win. That was his deal. So we got to stop what they do, and that is one of the things that they hang their hat on.
How does their quarterback kind of compare similarities with the Mount St. Joe quarterback that you saw a week ago?
Mount St. Joe's a much better athlete. I mean, I think he's the best athletic quarterback I have seen in the time I've been here. I think he's right in that mix. He's a top 3 quarterback in our league. I think the best quarterback is in our last game. We play Franklin. Mm-hmm. He has an arm unlike anybody I've seen, just from a film standpoint. We'll see how they mature, but that's a few weeks away. But I think he's good. Tyson's good. He's a guy that puts the ball accurate in there. He understands the offense, and he did it his freshman of the year. He is doing it again right now, and you just look at their scores. No one's really just shutting them down. So it's going to be a challenge, and he's very good, and they got a good running back. They're in pretty good position with Reggie Lipscomb there. He had 21 carries for 80 yards, and that's solid. That's a solid deal, but it's not like he's a battering ram. I mean, they do it because they spread you out, and then he can get in the open and do some things.
Finishing up, where's your focus this week to get prepared for these guys and have a chance on Saturday, Coach?
Our focus right now is throughout the week has been to get our fastest team that we can get to play the game on Saturday. And some of that comes with adjusting the practices, more film time, less like just no banging, nothing, no contact type practices, so we can at least see what we're doing. Put some of our maybe a little more emphasis we've done in the 7-on-7 type of work, where defensive backs can recognize schemes and be able to not think, just react and make the plays. Because our defense has to have a great game on Saturday. I think that's number one. In the kicking game, we've got to make sure we get things shored up and we don't let big returns hit us like we have in the past. And I think we have to kick off better, because one of the things we gave Mount St. Joe a week ago was great drive starts. I mean, they were they only had to go 50, 60 yards after we would kick off, because they would return the ball back, or the one-time onside kick we weren't able to get. So we just gave them opportunities because we didn't do a good job kicking off. But those are things we're working on, and then eliminate get our drop passes down to a minimum, especially on key third down situations. So we're going to have to keep the ball away, play smart, And I don't mean we got to run it every play, but we need to run effectively and balance some things out so they can't just load the box up and, try to tackle the bus. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no
Jim
doubt.
Funderburg will be on the call on Saturday with, I believe, Jim Bellamy.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I heard.
On the Jacket Network. And
yeah, it's also on local TV, which is great. So I think that gives us a great opportunity to get some of these local recruits, which we're on right now. We're on a lot of just recruits around the country that watch this podcast weekly, and we're excited to have a good group in to watch the game. We're allowed to bring them in because with tomorrow being Friday, it's Good Friday, so there's no school at a lot of places in the high school. So we've got kids driving in from far away places to enjoy the weekend in Defiance with great weather and all that. And so it'll be fun. It'll be exciting. Anderson, the Ravens are going to be definitely a challenge, but one that I think our team is geared up for the opportunity.
Appreciate it, Coach. We'll talk to you again next week. Thanks.
Okay. I want to thank you for joining us on the Swarm and Shoot Football Show. If you're listening to this podcast, make sure to subscribe in iTunes. Give us a rating, comment on the show. If you'd like to get all kinds of updates, go to our website at swarmandshoot.com, where you will be up to date on all of our podcasts with audio and YouTube versions on there as well. See feature articles on our current players and alumni, along with updates of what's going on in the program. Take a minute and subscribe with your email to receive these regular alerts every time we update the website.